Hey everyone, this is why I said the last video was probably the last video in the series. Pretty much we found some new stuff and some better ways of explaining things. This game is still evolving. When we made the first video, the world record was around 1 hour and 9 minutes, and as of creating this video, it's gotten all the way down to 1 hour and 5.5. It may even be possible to beat this game in less than an hour if we cut out loads. So let's go. So our original explanation for an RCJ was only half right. You can do an RCJ by just standing on the edge and jumping straight up, but that's not the most consistent way of doing it. The best way is to stand on the edge like this, then run to the right and jump off. When you walk off the edge, it kinda trips up your sack person, so when the physics engine forces you back up right, that's what causes the extra jump height. So it's better to stand on the edge, hold right, then jump. This skip is still a little random, but we found an easier setup. Push the scientist over like this as usual and jump up on his side. Now, a good way to set up for the jump here is to try to get each one of your feet on separate spikes of hair. It'll prevent you from spazzing out, as you can see. Then hold right, wait slightly, then jump, and if your timing is right, you can get the RCJ. If your jump isn't high enough to make it up on top of the yellow door, you can use the side of the cage to slide up a bit and get some extra height. Then grab onto the ceiling here and swing yourself over to the door. Then just do the rest normally. It's a little less random than just winging the RCJ off the scientist's hair, I think. Don't get your hopes up with this title because the skip is still really hard. You still have to jump off the scorpion and get up onto the collector, but this could be useful if you have trouble with the jump off the collector. Pretty much, you can wait until you can make a jump onto the beam above the collector, then do a running jump off at your own pace. Just make sure you don't fall through the hole in the ceiling here and fail the skip. I find this jump is still easy to fail, but maybe some people will find it more consistent. Believe it or not, there's an introduction skip in single segment. The only reason we didn't mention it before is because it's nearly impossible to actually save time with. Remember the video at the beginning of part 2 of the guide where PPJ was jumping up to these hats and then he managed to squish himself? Well, if you can do that enough times to lose all your lives, it'll send you back to the pod. On a clean save file, this will start the pod introduction cutscene. So pretty much, if you can lose all your lives here in the introduction, you can skip the video at the end of the level. In a task where every jump and death was first try, you could probably save somewhere around 40 seconds. Not going to go into too much detail about this because quite frankly I've never tried it, but remember that edge jumping gives you a tiny speed boost. All of those platforms you run by and Skulldozer have edges you can jump off of. Food for thought. Like we mentioned in the guide, you can quit to the pod before you reach the scoreboard as long as you reach the scoreboard before the pod loads, and it'll count the levels being complete. You might not know, but it takes a little bit for the pod to load, so it's possible to quit to the pod way earlier than you might think. Just make sure you have a clear run to the scoreboard so you don't accidentally miss it, or you'll have to redo the level. There's also a way to save time in the pod. You can pause the game as the level is loading, then unpause as soon as you see the level start loading like this, and start the level immediately. It skips the level entry animation and saves about a second per level. That means you can save over 20 seconds in a full run by doing this trick. However, there is a chance of your game crashing if you do this on certain levels, so do it at your own risk. So that's it for now. I would say this is the last video for real, but I honestly don't know. Maybe we'll find more stuff. See ya. Hello everyone. Today we have a special LBP speedrunning guide episode with a few tricks you may not have known about before. This time we're going to be talking about the power of teamwork. A few of you have shown interest in co-op speedrunning, so today we're going to go over some tricks to keep in mind if you want to run the game with a friend. This is probably the most useful co-op trick in the game. It allows you to use 2 sack people to essentially get a jump with similar height to an LCJ almost anywhere you want. You can actually use this to skip an entire level in LBP2's story mode. We're not really going to talk about that game though, not yet at least. Anyway, to do a co-op jump, first designate a jumper and a grabber, with the grabber standing to the right of the jumper. The jumper needs to jump, and as they're falling back down, the grabber needs to run left and grab their feet, dragging them to the left. This will make the jumper land on their side like this. A little after that happens, the grabber should let go and the jumper should jump. If you paid attention to the previous videos in this series, you'd know that when your sack person isn't standing completely upright, the physics engine will try to force you back upright. If you combine that force with the jump, you'll get extra height. As you might imagine, when your sack person lands completely on its side, that's a lot of extra force trying to get your sack person to stand back up. Timing is everything with this trick. It takes a bit of practice, but once you have the timing down, the trick really isn't hard. Just make sure the jumper on your team tries jumping earlier or later if they're not getting it down. When I first learned the trick, I realized the timing for the jump was actually a lot later than I expected it to be. As for the grabbing part, it will take some timing as well, figuring out when to start running to the left and how long the grab needs to be. Also, make sure the jumper is jumping high enough, or you won't grab their feet correctly and they won't land on their side. Another thing to note is that the jump is still possible if the grabber is standing on the left side and drags to the right, but the timing is different and you won't get as much height. Leapfrogging is a small optimization technique that lets you move slightly faster if the two of you are close together. It requires a bit of coordination, and the two of you need to be close together for it to work. If one player is running behind the other, they can do a quick jump and grab. If you're the right distance apart, the game will try to snap the two of you closer together, and if you let go while this happens, you'll get some extra speed, which will throw you in front of your partner. Then your partner can do the same thing, and you can keep chaining them together. It's useful for long stretches of flat ground. When you're doing a co-op run, you're running as a team, so there's no shame in dying to help your partner succeed. Sometimes your partner might get a really hard trick or a cycle skip while you might miss it. Remember that the game will try to keep both of you on the screen at the same time, so if your partner gets far ahead, kill yourself so that they can actually see what they're doing. You'll catch back up when they hit the next checkpoint. There's nothing more annoying than a partner that lags behind and takes up all the screen space after someone does something skillful that puts them far ahead. You can hold to retry to kill yourself, but remember that there are often faster ways to die. If there's a block of fire or a pit of spikes nearby, throw yourself inside so you don't waste time waiting for yourself to pop. So those are the basic things to keep in mind. I don't want to end on a morbid note, so here are a bunch of ways you can use these tricks in the game's story mode. Enjoy!
His crazy clothes. He wears tan shoes with pink shoelaces, a polka dot vest, and man, oh man, he wears tan shoes with pink shoelaces and a big Panama with a purple hat band. He takes me deep sea fishing in a submarine. We go to drive-in movies in a limousine. He's got a whirly-burly and a 12-foot yacht. But that's not all he's got. He's got tan shoes with pink shoelaces, a polka dot vest, and man, oh man, he wears tan shoes with pink shoelaces and a big Panama with a purple hat band. We were going to war, so he went out and enlisted in a fighting corps. But he landed in the brig for raising such a storm. When they tried to put him in a uniform, he wanted tan shoes with pink shoelaces, a polka dot vest, and man, oh man, he wanted tan shoes with pink shoelaces and a big Panama with a purple hat band.
angels come to carry me, I want it down and right and how to bury me.
Wearing tan shoes with big shoelaces, a polka dot vest, and man, oh man, will give me tan shoes with big shoelaces and a big Panama with a purple hat band. And a big Panama with a purple hat band.
Hi everyone, we're taking a quick break from the LBP2 speedrunning guide to tell you about a few newish skips found in LBP1. Most of them are pretty tricky, but worth knowing if you're interested in speedrunning this game. The first half of the subway skip is pretty difficult and takes a long time to set up, but we found another way of doing it. Run right when you enter the level, jump and push this box over, and just keep running straight to the right. You should knock over the boxes in some orientation similar to this. When you close out of the dialog box, line yourself up with the smaller box, do an LCJ, and using the extra jump power, do another LCJ off of Mags's arm like this. If you nail it, you'll get enough height to grab this light, which will let you do the rest of the skip as before. The second half is still just as hard, but this method is about 20 seconds faster to set up, and the extra height makes grabbing the light in the correct spot for the second half much easier. Plus, the double LCJ isn't too difficult, it just takes some muscle memory, which you can build up with just a bit of practice. Unfortunately, I still don't think Subway Skip is single segment consistent yet, even with this quicker setup. The height from the double LCJ is actually enough to land on top of the light like this. You can actually get a jump off the light to get up onto the swinging metal bit, and it's possible to time a jump to reach the right side. It's super difficult, but might be less random than trying to grab the correct spot on the light, I feel. I wouldn't worry about it too much though, the important thing is the double LCJ. Speaking of LCJs, there's also a faster way of doing the construction site skip. It's as simple as doing an LCJ off this metal beam from the one in front of it, and landing up here like usual. It's harder than it sounds though, since the beams do swing back and forth and make the positioning and timing pretty weird, but it's definitely doable. It's probably worth trying in single segment once at least, and multiple times only if you're really comfortable with it. It actually saves about 10 seconds over the old method. The skip was actually discovered by Loud Orange by accident, apparently, but it saves about 10 to 15 seconds. At the race, run full speed to the left onto the ice slide, then jump at around this point, continuing to hold left in the air. You'll want to kind of land near this corner here, and when you do, hold up on the analog stick. If you time it and position it just right, you'll switch back a layer and be able to fall behind the ice slide. Then you can just make your way over to the left, jump down here, and you'll end up at the end of the race. The skip isn't super difficult, in fact it is doable in single segment, but it is precise and it probably doesn't save enough time to be worth trying more than once. If you really feel comfortable with the skip and you do miss it once, it might be worth it to instantly hold to retry and try again. I don't know how much time you'll have left to save or if you'll even lose time, so don't take my word on that. The skip was found a pretty long time ago actually. At the beginning of the second phase of the collector, when the collector drops the two enemies, the two bubbles on his hands are out in the open. You can actually reach them early by jumping at the side of the enemy and jumping off the enemy's body just before hitting its bubble. When you hit the bubble, the bounce force will combine with your jump and you'll get lots of extra height, which you can use to reach each of the bubbles on the boss's hands. If you get the rest of the bubbles quickly as well, you can reach the third phase of the boss just after its second enemy drops. Remember, you'll want to jump off the enemy's body, not its bubble. You can't jump off the bubbles in this game, so you need some solid ground to jump off of before hitting the bubble to get the boost. It's almost like a single layer LCJ. So that's it for this episode. Be sure to practice these new skips. Also get in contact with us if you want to speedrun the game. We love helping out new people. See you later.